Lori, one thing that's important to understand is that guns are like shoes. They must fit. And most American guns are made for the average American male, 5'10" and 186 pounds. And if you don't look like that, you've got to make absolutely sure that the gun fits your hand properly. And one of the most important dimensions of gun fit is whether your finger can reach the trigger in the right place. Now let's just verify quickly that this is unloaded. Now, depending on the style of pistol that you have, your trigger finger should touch the face of the trigger at the first pad of that trigger finger. Okay? And we want to go no further in than the first crease, and certainly no further out than that tip. And again, it'll depend on the type of pistol that you have. For this particular pistol, I want that finger to be about midway at that first pad of the trigger finger. Midway. The object is for me to be able to bend my trigger finger at that first joint and press that pad towards my shoulder. What I don't want to do is get too little finger in there so that when I'm pressing the trigger I end up pushing the gun to the side, or too much trigger finger so that when I'm pressing the trigger I end up pulling the gun to the other side. Ideally, I'll be pressing that trigger finger straight back towards the rear of the gun, towards my shoulder, so that I minimize the movement in the gun. When I control the trigger like that, I'm going to minimize the disruption of that sight alignment that we were talking about.
Right, okay.
Now let's talk about trigger control.
Okay.
Trigger control is one of the most important elements of shooting. Trigger control is what's going to allow you to hit what you're aiming at. Now, in order to do this particular exercise, we're going to insert an empty magazine into this unloaded pistol so that I can show you something. Trigger control is the action of manipulating the trigger such that you are minimizing the motion that you bring to the gun. By doing so, you are minimizing the disruption of that sight alignment and the sight picture. Here's how to best control your trigger. You're going to aim in. You've got your sights aligned, and they are on your aiming point. Now, finger on the trigger. Now, go ahead and start pressing that trigger by applying a nice, smooth, gradual application of pressure. At some point, the trigger is going to go click or bang. That should be a complete surprise to you. You are trying to get that surprise break, as we call it. You shouldn't know that the trigger is going to go click or bang. As soon as we know it, or we will it to happen, we start introducing movement into the gun. So a nice, smooth, gradual application of trigger pressure until you get a click or a bang. All right, my sights are aligned. I've got my aiming point. I've got a nice sight picture. I have my finger on the trigger. I start that nice, smooth press, and I get my surprise break. Now what do? Follow through. Follow through is very, very important, as it also helps you minimize the amount of movement you introduce to this gun during the shooting process. Follow through includes two parts. One, your visual follow through. You are going to try to reacquire the exact same sight picture that you had when you first started pressing the trigger. Reacquire that exact same sight picture as quickly as you can, even if you've had some recoil in your shot. The second part of follow through is what you're going to do with your trigger finger. You're not going to let your trigger finger fly off the trigger as soon as you hear the bang or feel it. You're going to keep that trigger finger depressed for a moment and then gently release. If you let your finger fly off the trigger as soon as you get the bang or the break, you're going to move the gun. Follow through. Follow through with the sight picture, follow through with the trigger.